Are we recording? Good, thanks, Russ. Good to be here. If the listeners want to really, it's what they tune in for. They really want to know. It's cloudy. It's humid. It's hot, cloudy. We had 3 boiling hot days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it kind of broke last night. And we had a mega storm at about half past 10, and uh, and that's brought a cooler spell in, but it's still pretty close, a bit muggy. There you go. Oh God, yeah. It it can, yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure. I got a bit sunburnt over the last few days, and yeah. I mean, we're about 2 hour drive from Liechtenstein, so this is, I suppose, it's sort of appropriate. I can be like the Liechtenstein correspondent. Not that I know much about Liechtenstein football, but yeah, I can say the weather in Liechtenstein will be similar to the weather in Innsbruck. So these are sort of conditions that their players will be coming to Cardiff, having experienced of late. And wow, yeah, it's not short for, is it? It's just what short for? Yeah, and subs, so 16. Yeah, 16. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, especially for Gazdat. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll try to remember what it was. So it's I went for Chris Maxwell in goal. Uh, Back four of Mickey Evans, Alan Fox, Morgan Fox, and Royce Wiggins. Midfield three was Jason Price, John Ellsworthy, and Gareth Owen. And up top was Carl Griffiths, Kurt Nogan, and Sean McCarthy. Subs were Connor Roberts, not that one, the other one. Um, Paul Mullin, controversially. Mark Lloyd Williams, I think I put in Andrew Hughes as well, and Joe Jacobson. Yeah, off the top of my head. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was when yeah, yeah, kind of like did the France game he played, yeah, the 4-2 against France, he was captain of that team. I think by the time I'm not quite sure, but sort of I think that was his last campaign, so he played, but I don't remember him playing in the playoffs against England. Funnily enough, I think because Royce Wiggins played in those games at left back. I think he might have been in the senior squad, in fact. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, a few left backs in there who went uncapped. So it's like I think Morgan Fox. I didn't realise till writing the piece is he's played like 10 seasons regularly in the championship. So he can consider himself a bit unlucky. So since making his debut, he's had 2 seasons in League One and then 10 seasons playing regularly in the Championship for some quite big clubs at that level. But just never, it's never quite opened up for him at senior level to make his debut. True. Certainly improved because in the past it was a real problem area for us. I wrote a piece a few years ago for the podcast Pêl-droed blog about the evolution of a kind of fullback options, really, because there used to be very few, and and Connor Roberts and Nico Williams, they're both still youngish. Well, Nico is certainly, and they've both racked up a lot of caps because they've been first choice players since they, making their debuts basically. Like Nico scored that fantastic goal on his second cap, I think, against Bulgaria, if I remember rightly. So yeah, um, I think Morgan Fox is one I've thought he can definitely consider himself bit unlucky to have not won a cap. But the one that really is mad going back a bit is John Ellsworthy because he won the league with Ipswich, yet never won a Wales cap. Um, so I think it's the only case of a player who won the league, a Welsh footballer who won the league in England, yet never played a senior game for Wales. Yeah, yeah. McMills, John Walk, John Walk, yeah, yeah. Scored over 50 goals for them, yeah, from midfield. Midfield, yeah. Mm, true. Yeah. I wonder what the story is. I mean, 62 he won the league, 61, 62, um, which is basically what got Alf Ramsey the job as England manager. That Ipswich had won the league in 62 because Walter Winterbottom resigned after the World Cup. So it was a World Cup summer, and we went on a tour to South America and played Brazil twice and Mexico, I think. So South and Central America. I wonder what the story is with him not getting called up for that sort of that summer. I couldn't find that out, but that would be interesting. It could be that maybe he was selected for that tour. You know, as a as a league winner, you'd think that he'd be on the radar, but maybe after a long hard season he turned it down. It could be that um, maybe he didn't want to travel to, to South America. Possibly, I don't know. I wonder what if there's a story there because that would have been the time when you think, well, surely this guy was one of the best, 16 or so Welsh players at the time. Why didn't he go on that tour? So, yeah, 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 Was he? Ah. Hmm. Well, Jason Price, I think he had good spells in the Championship with Doncaster and Hull, but at that point, um, Toshack was playing younger players from the under 21s, even if they weren't at Jason Price's level. So people like Mark Bradley got capped and um, Sean McDonald. Um, Sean McDonald might. I think Mark Bradley or Sean McDonald might have been under Flynn actually in 2010. But anyway, like he was perhaps unlucky in that like Brian Stock won a few caps, Mark Bradley won a cap, Jason Price just it was a timing thing, I suppose. That he was if he had been a few years younger, he might well have won a cap or two. I don't think he'd have ever had a sort of long and impactful Wales career at all, but he perhaps can consider himself unlucky not to have won a cap at least. Mm. Yeah, I mean, those. Yeah, I mean those two. I sort of. Yeah, I could have certainly mentioned those two, but the sort of impetus for the piece came from the fact that Chris Maxwell and Connor Roberts had both kind of retired in quick succession, and these are two keepers who, despite being in squads, never won a cap, and so they were always going to be my two keepers. But yeah, Mike Walker, whose son could have played for Wales, of course, but he didn't. He turned us down and won three caps for England, I think. Uh, Ian Walker, Spurs keeper. Um, yeah, and Glenn Laverin was at Leeds, was he? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. If it was down to pure talent, I'd have put him in, but you know, there are other things going on, which meant that yes, he never fulfilled his potential. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah, and he was at Villa as a kid, wasn't he? He'd made a few appearances for Villa and in the Premier League. So yeah, I think it says 13 under 21 caps here. So, but then yeah, he went to Shrewsbury, but um, according to Wikipedia, only made 65 appearances in his career. So kind of didn't really happen for him. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Well, yeah, Ewan Williams. Yeah, he was going to do something similar. He messaged me straight after to say he was that I'd beaten him to it. But I think his was going to be a sort of could have played for Wales 11, so including players with who were born in Wales but played for other countries like Rob Jones, Kevin Sheedy, Paul James, perhaps, and players with Welsh parents and grandparents who didn't want to play for us, like Owen Hargreaves and Emlyn Hughes are two that spring to mind. Ian Walker we mentioned being another one. So look out for that if he gets around to finishing that. That should be interesting. Four. I just looked it up. I thought it was three, but it won four. Yeah, yeah. It could have been. It could have. Yeah, it could have been sort of regular for us, perhaps after the mid 90s. I think because Paul Jones was quite a late developer. I remember. I think he made his debut age 27 or something. So maybe if he'd have wanted to play for us, he would have been the regular keeper after Big Nev. Oh really? Okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Was it up for that long? Oh, okay. It was great. Yeah, crazy. Whoa, it's a, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, it's yeah, a crazy story. Brilliant, brilliant article. That such a shame it got taken down, but it got crazier after it was published as well. You know, I think, well, it was crazy enough as it was. But I mean, if you go on his Wikipedia, there's a link in one of the opening paragraphs to a Toronto Star article from 2018. It says he was a Canadian soccer star. Now he's homeless and starving himself in a Toronto park on a lonely crusade for justice. I mean, so that gives you an idea of where Paul James is at. There's yeah, hmm, yeah, mm, hmm, Oh God, yeah, mine's gone black as well. Yeah, Chin Ugly. Yeah. Are we talking about all this other stuff? Because there's not really much to talk about when it comes to playing Liechtenstein. Because yeah, all right, yeah, yeah, go on, yeah. Yeah, hmm to- totally, 100% with Bellamy. It's just not worth getting het up about at all. I think it's been a policy for a long time just to let other people, if they get selected by another country that they qualify for, to go and have a look. And very confident that people will come back to us if they want. And if you know, but if also if the guy feels Canadian and feels like that's the way he wants to go, then it's almost like, well, you know, you can't kind of force him to play for Wales. But in all likelihood, you'd think he would come back to us, especially as Bellamy has known him for a while. He's talked about how he knows the family and all this kind of stuff. So there's a relationship there. You know, if we weren't doing our sort of due diligence and we weren't doing, the sort of all the stuff around kind of taking care of a player and making players feel that they're wanted, then you'd be kind of angry, I suppose. But the truth is, we're really good at that stuff these days, and if Bellamy's happy for him to go off and train with Canada, then well, so be it. It's just and the player will make the his decision. But I suppose it's like his career is likely to be in England at club level. So does he really want to do all the travelling that would be involved in playing for Canada? But at the same time, you got to say, like, he'd he'd be well placed to play in a World Cup if he goes with Canada because they're hosting the next one, and so um, we've got to qualify out of a tough group. We've got to get ahead of Belgium to qualify outright, and Canada don't. So there's that. That's sort of going in Canada's favour, I suppose. But I think most things would be in favour of him choosing choosing Wales, and he'll just treat this as a pretty cool experience to go over to Canada and train with them. Got some top players there like Jonathan David and Alfonso Davis, and I think they're playing some. So it's just an interesting experience for him. But I imagine he'll probably come back to Wales. But if he doesn't, you just have to sort of respect that, really. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 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 No. Absolutely. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Capaccio, he sounds promising. Um, I've not seen him play at all, but from what I've heard from other people, he's got bags of pace. Bellamy's talked about how he's got really high potential, and he's known him for ages since he was 9 or something. So presumably that was when Bellamy was coaching at Cardiff. So he knows a lot of these. He's known a lot of these kids for a while. So yeah, I kind of I doubt he'll play. It'd be a bit like Kai Andrews coming into the last squad. It's sort of give him a taste of things and being around it, and so they'll be more comfortable when they come back in next time. But it's yeah, seems a good move. He's kind of thinking on different levels, isn't he, Bellamy? It's like for sure, there's going to be huge focus on these two games, but he's also got one eye on kind of right. How's the squad going to develop? How are we going to kind of push things forward and in future, and it's a sort of quite a holistic approach as well as being highly focused and professional. Um, but I think that shows the sort of manager that he is. Not sure. Sorry. Mm. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. I mean, I know sometimes you kind of hear things where you say, "Oh, like nowadays we do things differently, like in terms of the under 21s or whatever." It's like, well, actually, wait a minute. It's been 20 years since Flynn was appointed, over 20 years now, and it's very much a partnership between uh, him and Toshak. You know, Flynn was sort of like Toshak's man on the ground in Wales, and in England, like watching the players. So that's been the case for 20 years now, and you know, guess what? We've te- we've been successful for for 2/3 of that time. So it shows that this approach works of bringing the sort of youth teams sort of closer together with the senior team, as it were, and and being fully aware of kind of what's coming through, and Bellamy is seems to be fully on top of all that. So it's not gonna yeah it's not gonna our approach isn't gonna change there, and I think that's important, especially when you're a smaller country. You've got to I think it's perhaps more there's more emphasis on doing that sort of thing when you're a smaller country. Um, it's when you're in a larger country, you can kind of afford to kind of have things a bit more separate, and you, if you're a larger country like England, you're only going to bring a player into the squad, say, if they've impressed in the Premier League or a top league around Europe. So people are fully aware of them because they're impressing at club level anyway. Whereas like a sort of Kai Andrews or a Ronan Capaccio, these are players that have hardly played any club games, just a handful, and yet they come into the squad because the manager is aware of them through watching them at youth level, or sort of seeing their development, having been involved uh, with teaching, coaching them at youth level. So it's that's why I think particularly for smaller countries like Wales, this approach is the right one. Mm. Hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's absolutely ideal to have the Liechtenstein game first, in terms of getting minutes into people's legs and all that kind of stuff, and because it's been a while, it really has for a lot of them, like especially as championship players who weren't involved in the playoffs, like you said. It's God, it's what, over 4 weeks, isn't it? So no, playing Liechtenstein first is absolutely spot on. I think just in terms of a game which we should win fairly comfortably, and we're at home, and it's a chance for Bellamy to manage the minutes and do all that kind of stuff that I'm sure he's fully on top of in terms of making sure that the players are kind of in peak condition going into that Belgium game. Not, not right, not saying that result is a formality, but it kind of should be that we get 3 points against Liechtenstein. Um, and I don't doubt that Bellamy will be anything other than fully professional about going out there and getting the result first, and that being the priority. No. That's brilliant. Yeah. Is he going to get Is he going to get the players to wax his car? I wonder. You know, wax on, wax off, in the right order. Paint the fences around Dragons Park in Newport. Yeah. So yeah, that was a great reference. You know, it's like right up our street, isn't it? Like 80s film reference. It's almost like he listens to podcast Pêl-droed sometimes or something. But no, that was great. No, but I know what he's getting at. It's exactly, it's like, you know, it's, you create a culture. You're kind of like yeah, but you're kind of, you know, explaining why you do things, why, you know, why it's important not to swap the shirts. You know, it's sort of like it's okay, right, okay. Um, it's not just random. So yeah, it's great, love it. I mean, Bellamy just, he can't help but be interesting, can he? It's just like everything that comes out of his mouth is in some way interesting. He's like incapable of being boring. Yeah, yeah. Mm, mm, mm. I don't think there'll be new caps. I think what he'll do is he will play players who haven't played for a while as a sort of priority. So it might be that players who have been playing up until the end of the season might not start. Like, so, say Brennan Johnson in the Europa League. Maybe he won't start this one. Maybe Kiefer Moore won't start because he was in the playoffs. Maybe I can't imagine we're going to go with a back five. So I doubt Mepham will start. So I kind of get the feeling it might be Roden Davis at centre back. Davis hasn't played that much for Spurs. With Ampadu and Jordan James in midfield to bring those two together again ahead of the Belgium game, because I think those two will almost certainly start against Belgium, and give them minutes and maybe bring Sheehan on later or something like that. But I think he might go with Dan James and Harry Wilson probably from the start, and um, I don't know, but like, you know, maybe like a bit of a more of a wild card, like Lewis Kumas might start, but Liam Cullen perhaps as well, and but then I don't know. We always get it wrong when it comes to this, but I think it'll be the Liechtenstein team will be a strong team, but it won't be the team that starts against Belgium. I think probably there'll probably be about three changes in the starting lineup between Liechtenstein and Belgium. I think. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he might. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Oh yeah, under 19s. Yeah, under nine. Mm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I vaguely. Yeah, Kumas. It's one of those. It was one of those where Kumas turned it on, didn't he? He was. He usually did in Wrexham. He played well in Wrexham. Kumas scored a couple, and then we beat them at the Millennium Stadium. David Edwards scored a goal, I think, and then the last time we played them, I was there. It was just after I moved over here. Actually, it was the autumn of 2009, and that was Aaron Ramsey's first Wales goal. He scored with a free kick. Yes, and David Vaughan's only Wales goal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah, it's fucking freezing. It was, but it was a good. Yeah, it was my first sort of Wales away actually. But it was only 2 hours drive from home, so it's kind of like a home game, but a Wales away at least. Yeah, yeah, it's one of those where oh God, they so nearly scored in that game. I remember James Collins letting one of their strikers through, and he just kind of missed an open goal against. God, who would have been a goal at that time? Buzz Myhill, perhaps. Can't remember. Um, so God, we didn't play particularly well, but anyway, we got the job done. I expect us to probably in this game put 3 or 4 past them. You'd think. Um, I just we haven't kept a clean sheet for 4 games, so I hope we keep a clean sheet and you know win it comfortably enough and give the players the kind of runouts that they need ahead of Belgium, which is obviously the toughest game in the group. But it's one we're going to win, as Bellamy says. So that's the big one, obviously. He was outstanding, actually. Yeah, he was so good. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Mm. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's either Steve Evans or Mark Jones. Mark Jones came on. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Great season. Season Wrexham got promoted 2002-3. He scored loads of goals from midfield. Yeah, and looked. I don't know if it's just Mark Hughes was at Blackburn at the time. I don't know if it's just because Mark Hughes is from Rowabon local, but um, there were strong rumours linking Mark Jones with a move to Blackburn, who were in the Premier League, and it just never happened for him. And he had injury problems after that, and never his career never recovered, sadly. But he was one who, yeah, could have been a good player for Wales, I think. But just shame. Yeah, yeah, no, mm. 3 or 4. I'll go 4-0. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we don't do. Belgium will do that, won't they? Belgium will put probably 10 past them at home and 9 past them away or something. But we don't. We don't really do that. But we have put 4 past people. We put 4 past Iceland, 4 past Finland. So 4, yeah, sounds about par for what we should expect. Um, but we conceded in those games, of course, and we conceded against Kazakhstan and conceded against North Macedonia. So I think a clean sheet would be good, and for this one, um, yeah, okay, right. Yeah, I'll say I'll go confident. Go four as well. So we've got the same prediction, I guess. But yeah, I mean, look at. Uh, should I go for a 5? Should I go? Should I go for a 5 just to be different to you then? Go on then. I'll go 5. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't really imagine it being a fully like totally smooth, everything working like clockwork kind of thing with the players sort of being at different levels, having finished at different times. That I don't expect it to be a bit bitty, but professional enough. And looking ahead to the Belgium game, which I kind of don't like to do too much because it's the second game. We've got to get through the first game first. But the the last game they played, they beat Ukraine 3-0 to in Belgium to uh, win that UEFA the Nations League playoff 4-3. But that was the first clean sheet they kept for quite a while. Before that, they'd conceded 3 against Ukraine, lost to Israel, which meant the manager got sacked, lost to Italy at home, lost 2-1 to France, drew 2-2 with Italy in Rome, lost 2-0 in France, beat beat Israel 3-1, so they won but conceded, lost to France again, and then 0-0 against Ukraine in the at the Euros in Stuttgart. So it had been like what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games uh, between clean sheets for them until the last one. So, what I'm saying, it's a roundabout way of saying I think we should be confident about uh, scoring a goal or two. So, yeah, a draw would be fantastic. But there's also a part of me that thinks it's been a while since we've had a real statement away win in a qualifier, isn't it? So probably 10 years since the Israel one in Haifa, perhaps. I mean, I can't. I mean, we've had some good, really good results away since we've had some wins. Like Georgia was a good one, and some fantastic draws against Croatia and Serbia, Austria. But a statement win away from home. I mean, maybe we're due one. Maybe we're due one. I, you know, yeah. Wait a minute. What that was the what Cardiff one, wasn't it? Because the the quarter final was July 1st, if I remember correctly. So that was actually July. But yes. Of course, that was 11 years. No, wait a minute. 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. Pretty much exactly 10 years ago. Sorry, yeah, 10 years ago. Um, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, obviously they've got quality. They've, you know, no doubt about it. It's going to be tough, but the recent results show that there's okay. They've been playing opposition, but they have not won that many of late. So it's kind of there for us, I think, to go and get something. And Bellamy will be planning to try and win the game. So it's exciting. Yeah. mountain air. Yeah, no, not that I know of. No, there's only about 3 people living in Liechtenstein anyway. It's amazing they can put a national football team together. It's basically it's smaller than Wrexham, so you know, if we don't win comfortably, then something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Russ. Diolch.